The one common theme that I started to recognize in our human civilization is that we all have the tendency to identify with our pain. And what happens when we start to identify with our pain? We start to create a personality around that creates a personal reality that we feel like it's too hard to change. But what if I told you that this journey of self-discovery, not just a spiritual journey, but the human experience, is all about becoming the observer of what you feel, how you think, and why you act the way that you act, and not the identifier of it. So in today's video, I'm going to share with you what to do instead of identifying with your pain. What to do instead is to become the alchemizer of what it is you're observing, not the identifier, to the point that you become your own blockage, but instead you become the overcomer of the very blockage that you, yes, have created. What is Gucci, beautiful beings? Welcome back, Awaken Ones, on another episode on Embracing Essential Series with your homegirl, Brittany Fontanez. And don't forget to say hello to Sponger. That's his nickname for me, not just SpongeBob. But if you've been on this journey with me so far, so glad to have you here. If you're new to this channel, I am an energetic activator here to assist you to see things you have yet to see. So other than that, beautiful beings, let's just dive into understanding how to stop identifying with your pain and do this instead. Now, first of all, we live in a world where there's so many labels. Labels, oh, I'm ADHD, I'm ADD, oh, I'm depressive, and I'm on these, I have to take medicine, I have to do this, I have to do that. This is who I am. We really wear our pain like a badge of honor, to the point that we become such masochists and we enjoy that in such a toxic manner. But yet when we want to make changes, when we want to stop being angry, stop being sad, stop being resentful, we find it hard to do so. And like I said in the beginning, yes, you are the one who created that blockage, but I'm here to share with you, it wasn't your fault that you grew up in a household that was traumatic, in a broken home, being fully neglected, being ignored emotionally, mentally, psychologically, being abused. It's not your fault. But I will be honest with you. It is your fault if you continuously allow yourself to feel that way. This is why it's hard to make changes out of the shift of what we feel has gave us an identity. Because like I said, a lot of us wear our pain like a badge of honor, to the point that when people express what they go through, it's like we want to jump in. We only listen to respond to be like, oh, I've been through worse. Listen to this. And because of identifying ourselves from that very pain and from that very label, we put such a limit on ourselves to the point it makes it hard for us to make significant psychological, emotional, spiritual changes the way that we want to. And the reason why I'm bringing this up is because pain is not something we need to identify ourselves with. Don't get me wrong. I've been on this journey of self-discovery for many fucking years, and I'm very grateful for it, and I'm never going to stop. But one thing I've really started to see the theme of, not just in the spiritual community, but civilization at large, is that we believe that because this pain gave us this way of thinking, like, I'm proud to be who I am, we continuously allow ourselves to relive the past, live in the past, keep telling the same stories, and thinking that is all who we are, and not discovering what is really within us. And because of this is why change is hard. And I'm going to tell you, it's not your fault, because we live in a world where there's nothing but pain being taught through the news, bad news, through other people always talking about or complaining or talking about what is hurting them. But I've started to realize, because of this theme, a lot of people are repeating themselves, and I was there too. I kept repeating the same past stories, the same past traumas, telling my story of what I've been through, and it it only caused me to surround myself with the same type of people and energy to the point I was not growing, to the point I wasn't even happy with who I was. So what I did instead was start to become the observer of that very pain. And through that, I started to learn the very reason why it was there. It was not for me to identify with it. It was for me to alchemize it. The thing is, when we go through significant amount of pain and trauma, it makes us create coping mechanisms, and it makes us create significant characteristics. And through these characteristics, we start to identify ourselves through these characteristics, as in narcissistic tendencies or manipulation or victimization. And because of this, we lack the purpose of understanding how to use our mind, how to use our heart, and how to use our body. And this is what I mean. This is what you should do instead. You got to become the observer in order to become the alchemist of your life. And observing means what a lot of people lack doing. And this is why a lot of people don't want to meditate, because they're like, I don't know how to stay still. I don't know how to do this. That's you limiting yourself. The reason why I love meditation is not because it brings me mindfulness and ease, which it does. What it does, it helps me realize that I'm not my thoughts, I'm not my emotions, I'm not my body. So I can separate myself from the very thing and from the very circumstances that make me this person today. But it helps me become the observer of what makes me who I am. But it also helps me realize, how can I turn who I am today and alchemize it in who I want to be for tomorrow and for the future ahead. So the way I've done this, you don't have to even do meditation. It's just observe. Most of the time, my meditation is me just sitting in silence and just allowing my mind to roam, allowing my emotions to roam, allowing myself to feel. And through just sitting there and being with myself in my own chaos, in my own pain, even my own happiness, even in my own gratitude, I'm learning who I am. I'm discovering myself. I'm seeing my flaws. I'm seeing my insecurities. I'm seeing my shame. I'm seeing my guilt. I'm seeing my love. I'm seeing my heart. I'm seeing myself. And through doing this, it's causing me to realize, wow, excuse me, that I don't need to be what my circumstances have created for me, but I can be who I want to be regardless of the circumstances around me. I hope that makes sense, you guys. Excuse me for the cough. I know that was pretty loud, but still getting over sickness. But I'm still here, boo-boo. I'm still here. But so what you should do instead is, instead of running away, instead of labeling, instead of identifying, observe, question, be curious. But don't be curious to the point where you're not giving yourself permission to be still or to be with yourself. Instead, be curious to the point where you're going to feel it regardless of how tough it is. You're going to observe it no matter how much you want to identify with it. This is the problem with people who want to meditate for the first time. They think they have to control their thoughts, but control is of the ego and of fear. Observation is you trusting in yourself, is you giving up that anxiety, giving up that fear, giving up really what it is that's holding you back from feeling at home with yourself, and recognizing that you have the power to create your life and who you want to be. So what to do instead is become the observer. Excuse me. And as you become the observer, you guys, question. That's the first one. First one is observe. Second is question. Third one is a tough one. Acceptance. And the reason why I say acceptance is because you can't change what you're not aware of and don't accept. The reason why victimization comes about, victimization is in labeling, is in comparison, and it is in identification. So when you're identifying yourself with something, you become the victim of it. So in order to stop becoming a victim of your circumstance, you have to accept what is and accept what has happened. And most people have trouble with this. This is why they stay in their coping mechanisms. This is why they stay in their toxic habits and their toxic characteristics, is because they refuse to accept what has happened to them. And through the refusal of acceptance, they become the victim, and therefore they don't want to take accountability or responsibility over their own lives. So you got to first become the observer, then become the questioner, become curious, and third, become accepting of what has happened. And lastly, the very last thing you should do instead is that's when you have to change your belief. Is this who I want to keep being, or who is it that I want to be? And that's where you start to discover the real power that lies behind that pain. And that is the beauty of when you start to recognize how you tell your story different. Like for me, I've told you guys my story plenty of times. I've been through sexual assault. I've been through emotional abuse. I've been through psychological abuse. I've been abandoned by a lot of people. I've been cheated on. I've been the cheater. I've been the manipulator. I've been hurt. I've been used. I've been played. I've been the player. You know what I mean? I've been through all of that stuff. And the way I told my story was through victimization. I identified it myself as if it was a badge of honor to have that pain. But then I started to realize I got tired of identifying that myself that way because I was still not happy. I was in toleration rather than acceptance. And it was such a heavy burden on me that I wasn't happy with who I was. But when I started to become the observer, when I started to question, when I started to accept, that's when I started to realize I want to tell my story different. I want to be different. I want to feel different. I want to act different. And I could say till to this day, I'm very thankful for those very 4 things I started to do instead, rather than becoming the identifier of my pain. I started to become the alchemist. I started to change my belief system, the way that I was told and influenced the way that I grew up. I started to see different, act different, be different, to the point I've paved my own path that I'm very proud of, that I'm very proud of who I am. And the thing is, now it's to the point where I'm not happy because life is good. I'm happy because I see the good in everything of life. I have a gift that most people don't have, and that is I could see the optimism in the various worst moments of life. And a lot of people don't like that, but a lot of people adore that. This is why I am on this journey of sharing with you my experience. So, you guys, I really want you guys to take whatever. The one thing I want you to take out of this is stop comparing yourself to these labels, because a lot of us, when we go to the doctors and the doctors tell us this, like, oh, this is what you have, this is who you are, you're going to live like this, you're not going to walk again, you're not going to do this, or your parent tells you this, or your friends tell you that, or, ex-lovers, or whoever you come across affects you and triggers you so much that you think that's who you are. But I'm here to tell you, you have the right to choose who you are. You have the right to identify yourself the way that you want to identify yourself as, without thinking that another person's opinion of you is more important than your own. Because it's not. Because we're not here to limit ourselves, and we're not here to believe in what we are told to believe. Because here's the thing, you guys. No one is ever going to be you, and there will never be another you. So for you to believe that someone knows you better than yourself you should be a little disappointed in yourself. And I say that with love, because there's so much about you that no one knows who you are that makes you a powerful fucking being. And the fact that you think someone knows you better than you, especially your parents, is a disservice to your heart. And it's a disservice to who you are. Because even though your parents brought you to this world, they don't own you. Just because you're in this world, the government doesn't own you. Just because you have particular friend group, don't do whatever you can just to be liked or to be loved, you guys. Do what you can to feel as if you are happy being you, regardless of what people think of you. I've been bullied majority of my life. This is why I don't like school. I really do not like school. I've been bullied from the beginning of school. When I got out of college, I've been bullied. I've been bullied by my family. I've been bullied by my parents. I've been bullied by many people. But as I got older and I started to alchemize all this pain, all this shame, and all this guilt, I've started to be able to express myself and started to express what it is I needed and started to communicate that, to the point point that now my parents respect me. Now there's particular people in my family that I don't fuck with because they know for a reason why I don't fuck with them. There's a sibling that I love so much that she knows why I don't hit her up is because I'm not going to tolerate her behavior because she still wants to identify with her pain and her trauma. And I can't help someone who doesn't want to help themselves. You get me? You feel me? So I had to do the necessary and the hard decisions that most people didn't want to make in my last generation that I had to do for this generation in my bloodline that has caused me to pave a way to become an alchemist rather than a victim. So everything I share with you guys is not for you to deem yourself or to judge yourself or condemn yourself. It's just to observe yourself. Because remember, we're not on this planet for a long time. So to identify yourself with just this physical being is a disservice to the full essence of who you are. There's so much more to you beyond your limitations, beyond your labeling, beyond your identification, beyond your pain. So whatever you think is a blockage to you, that you think is the identifier of you, realize that is your power to be the alchemist for you, in order to overcome who you are. Pretty much everything I'm sharing with you is to learn how to get out your own way and literally allow your inner self to pave a new way for you so you can tell your story different, not from a state of pain, from a state of pride, from a state of, damn, I'm very, very grateful and happy to be me. So other than that, you guys, I really hope this served you, and I really hope it helps, and I really hope it gave you some sense of activation to see a new way of thinking beyond your current thinking. So until then, you guys, only love, and I'll see you on the next one.